Because you know what I was doing? If I went somewhere, a meeting or wherever, and I should say, look, it's my mother-in-law, this is the problem, and this person's the problem, I'm making it real. The answer to our problems, here's another quote I love, is that we really don't have any problems. Another one is, if I have a problem today, I'm the problem. All of these things, when I started to realize, that was, people say, what's your spiritual awakening? That was my spiritual awakening when I realized that it was my thinking. We have the acceptance prayer, and it says, change not so much what's in the world, but change what's me and my thinking. The serenity prayer says along the same lines. It all says this change in thinking, but no. And you know what? I go to meetings, people have been there for years, and they express this. Years later, when you hear somebody talk about a situation with their addictions or the problem, they're not, step one alone, look, step one alone, we have that awakening. Step one alone tells us we're powerless. So if I talk about trying to control my addiction to food, so then where am I? I'm back into the problem again. Either you're in the problem or you're in the solution. It took me a long time. Does everybody out there understand what that even means? You're in the problem, you're in the solution. So if you're going somewhere and you're discussing the problem, you're in the problem. The answer when I get quiet and pray and meditate is the answer to my problems is to realize I have no problems. There's the answer. Because when we have a problem, we're making from the falseness, the truth from the false, or the truth will set you free. Anything that comes from the self or the ego is false. Again, all the people here at this meeting will have a different opinion about what's going on or something in their lives, right? So it shows how our thinking, but we can change that perception with everything. The food, the addiction, the people, people could carry on and treat us outside of us, these things, the situations in the world, whatever they are, even our own self, our own illnesses. Look, this whole situation is getting out of the self. That's where the joy and happiness comes. And you know who does that? You did that, or children do that when they're really young. Or how about, they go out and they play, they're in eternal presence. But no, with all our intellect and how smart we think we are with our PhDs, all these advanced degrees, or whatever we did in life, we had to figure it out. Even a doctor's opinion, he says, they couldn't figure it out. All the doctors and scientists at the time with all the synthetic knowledge, they just couldn't figure it out. Hey, billions of people, look, the East and Western philosophies, billions of people in this world believe in religions and philosophies of getting out of the self, meditation, all of these different things. And it talked, again, this is the instruction book to that. They call it the opiate of the masses, they use that word. So if you want the opiate of that higher consciousness, that was the way we're meant to be. People always use the word they're out of sorts, they're restless, irritable, discontent. Yeah, if you're on the premise that you can figure things out and happiness comes from things outside of you, the five senses, hey, go out and enjoy life and enjoy these things, but know the truth from the false, that these aren't the real joy and happiness. You don't need people to tell you you're great. You don't need to win the lottery, all of these things, because, you win $1 million in the lottery, you want $2 million. Hey, always example I use, you go to a meeting, guy goes there, he's very popular. Most everybody at the meeting likes him. There's one guy there who doesn't like him, so he gets upset. That's the way we are when we're getting into our focus is on, again, with the food, we have more food, but it's never enough. So, hey, my always thing is this, look, try going to a meeting and think that everybody there doesn't like you, doesn't want you to be there, and sit there and be quiet and be still and feel the joy and happiness God created you to have. How wonderful is that? How free is that? Think about it, walking out of the house and not caring what people say, think, or do. When a guy cuts you off on the highway, just smile. Like I say, he's in a rush to go somewhere and cutting people off, but he's probably going somewhere people don't even want him there because of the type of guy he is. There's the joy and happiness. Again, we can have that awakening here, and step 3 tells us what to do. Getting out of self, that consciousness that God created us, that source. It's called the inner resource. All of these other things, the other 7 deadly sins, the anger, resentment, the fear, those are lower levels of thinking. That's the being in the self. Imagine that. If whatever your name is out there, like I always say, Bob, when I lose Bob and I find the whole world, right? When we lose ourselves, we open ourselves up to everything. When we're in our addictions, when we're in the self, we're finite. If you want to be infinite, get out of it. Just think about it, like a little child playing. Another example is a puppy dog. Puppy dog, they say every day is the best day of their life. Think about it. I mean, that's because they're not using that intellect. We can use it here, but it tells us what to do. It says, step 3 says, turn our will and our lives over the care of God. Now, a lot of people hear that word God, and to me, it means that, look, this universe was created and made so beautiful. Look at the flowers, look at everything, nature, the world and the way the universe works. And our bodies too. Don't think that we weren't created to have that ultimate happiness and joy. We were made not to be miserable. Look, this is survival, just like I said, like if you look at a dog or a kitten or something, or children. But we, with every gift that we were given, and as you know, there's always could be a downside to it. And the downside with the intellect was we misuse it, just like the first, right, they call it the first sin or whatever with food, right? The apple. So there you go. So we made a decision. It's always, I had a meeting last time. A lot of you are going to disagree with me with this topic I had at one of the meetings, and you'll see it. I have it up, on YouTube with the meetings, but it says it's always our fault. It's always our fault because it has to do with our thinking, our perception. We again took it upon ourselves. Hey, one day we went to school, maybe, or my parents said something to us, and we made a decision when somebody said they didn't like the way we were dressed, that they called us a name. At that time, our ego, the self, made a decision that they were going to fight back on that and not accept it. How dare they? The ego doesn't want to die. But when you lose yourself and lose the ego and the self-centeredness through this program, page 62 says selfishness, self-centeredness. So the only answer here, the doctor said, is a spiritual solution.